In this video, I want to talk about the analysis project. It's important for many reasons. The first reason being is that for you personally, it can represent a collection of what you've all learned, this summer, and that can be fulfilling for some of you. Second, it fulfills our requirements as a writing course, right? Remember, this course is kind of an acronym here. I'm just looking it up here. UWR, a University Writing Requirement course, which means that we have drafts, and I talk to you actually about writing papers. And third, this is worth 15% of your grade. So even if the first two reasons don't matter to you, the third reason should. So what I do here is I kind of walk you through step by step how to structure this. Okay, so what I'm having you do is kind of in the second part of the course where you talked about economic data on things like production, unemployment, and inflation, that you go into FRED, so fred.stlouisfed.org, and you start to create an analysis based on where you think things are going, how things have been going. Now, I've seen, you have some freedom here because other people have said, dude, that sounds boring. I don't want to do it. I want to structure something different. Totally fine. Someone did a paper on what these conditions are just in Oregon. Some did it on a different state. Some did it for a different period of time. Someone did it on like the 1980s. Any of those things are fine. Really what I'm if you don't want to think about it at all and you just want to do what I tell you to do, stick to production, unemployment, and inflation. But, have some fun with it. There was like a guy that worked at the UPS sorting facility, and he wanted to do one on supply chain. That's fine. But here's my suggestion. Whatever you're going to do, use the data from fred.stlouisfed.org to structure your paper. Because what I'm looking for here is that you integrate the data as you're doing it, and that you then, when you're doing it, that you integrate that data analysis. So here's how I would start, right? For me, personally, I would just start with a Google Doc, okay? So blank paper here, right? Scheiding's fantastic analysis project, right? So I'd have an introduction here, right? And I'd be typing it away. And let's just say I didn't want to be interesting here, and I just wanted to do the three things. Okay, so then I would go to fred.stlouisfed.org. I don't know. So here I can get the data for just Oregon here for GDP pretty clearly here. Now, I don't want to have data that goes out back all the way to 2005. This just shows me that you're not really thinking about it. So you're going to have to start to edit the graph, right? And so you're going to edit the graph, and you can play around. There's also tutorials here on how to do this. But, maybe I would just do it on a semi-annual basis, do the average, millions of dollars. That's all good. Okay. And then I'm going to look at it from the years right before COVID to after, whatever. And let's just stick with this. Okay, so now what I would do is I'd go to download right here. And so now you see that I can download the image, right? So I could download the image as a graph. And then once I download it, I could go in here and I can insert that image that I would upload from my computer. Right, so I'd have my discussion here, and Google Docs does a pretty good job then of integrating the documents. So then I would have my my graph there, and then I would keep having stuff, right? And I would keep doing that, And so how am I grading you? Well, I'm grading you based on the quality of your writing. I'm also grading you based on how you manipulated this data, this graph. and why the reasons why you changed it the way you are. So hopefully you're not just sticking with a single graph. Rather, right? So here's what I could do. And so now what I've done here is I could create a graph that shows how different Oregon's performance has been in terms of GDP versus the rest of the country. And here we could see that the state has actually grown faster in terms of production than the overall US economy. Or let's just say I don't want to do the overall US, I just want to do Oregon versus Washington State or Idaho or California. And so I can create these different graphs to tell a different kind of story. And so my assessment of you is partly based on the quality of that story that you're telling. And then what's also important here too is your own reflection. So just like the analysis papers, I care deeply about what you think the data is telling you about what's all going on. Now, ideally, what you'd be doing is you'd get all this paper done by August 20th, and you would then share that with me. And I would give you then comments well in advance of what you need to do before the September 3rd deadline. I realize some of you don't really care. And you just want to write it, and you're going to write it on September 2nd and turn it in September 3rd. That's your thing, and I'm not going to change that bad habit that you have, and I'm not going to judge you based on that bad habit that you have. You could just do the second stage. Just turn in whatever it is in September 3rd. Now, keep in mind, you're not getting the value of getting those comments back from me, but hey, if you can live with that situation, then I'm totally fine with it, and that'll be what it'll be. Yeah. So overall, what I can say is, you need to have a bibliography again. And as I say here, I'm going to really look closely at your final reflection section. Use my biggest suggestion though is you don't have to do these 5 sections like I outlined here. You can create your own innovative topic. Just you'll want to keep it to the St.Louisfed.org website so that you're generating the graphs because that's going to become important to me. Okay.